is Indonesian. If you've been watching the news lately, there's been a lot of concerning news probably that's made its way out into the world about civil unrest and protests that are happening all around the country of Indonesia. And I'm not here to actually talk about the politics of that, but I am going to discuss a little bit of the situation, and it involves a connection of the two. So what I do, if you're not familiar with me, is I do a citizen science hobby of doing a photographic survey and counting the long-tailed macaques that live, the wild long-tailed macaques that live in North Jakarta. And then occasionally I check on the welfare of the long-tailed macaques and other primates that are for sale in the local animal markets around Jakarta. Little bit of background, because some people may not be aware, but there's been a lot of demonstrations in Indonesia, and they're really starting in Jakarta, which is still the capital. Basically, the background of it is that there's a lot of perceived injustices and inequality, and people are demanding change. And the government responded to this with police and soldiers to protect the government buildings and the people. And it has involved some fatalities, some very tragic fatalities taking place. There are still about 20 people missing. I mean, it's been pretty brutal. There have been police officers that have been assaulted and beat up, vehicles burned, buildings burned, civilians, bystanders run over by police vehicles. I mean, it's just very hard situation. So that's about as deep as I'm going to get into the politics. If you're wondering about the painting behind me, so I've been painting past couple of days, and this is actually based on a real woman. The situation as it unfolded developed into mass protest, and there was a mother in Jakarta that she didn't even tell her children that she was going to the protest. She had warned them to stay safe, stay at home, but she went out to the protest. She ended up on the front lines of this, against a line of police behind their riot shields, and she had the Indonesian flag on a long bamboo pole, and she actually was expressing herself, expressing the frustrations of the people, and she was hitting the riot shields and the police officer helmets while yelling at them and telling them what she thought. And she became kind of an icon in the situation, and it really stood out for me as a former journalist. The photographer got really great pictures of that moment, and it really does kind of encapsulate the emotional side of what's going on here. So that's kind of the background. I mean, I can't get, I'll be frank with you, I can't get too deep into it because I'm a guest in this country. I live here as a permanent resident. I am not really authorized to express my political beliefs or anything that would be converse to agreeing with the government here, because the government has invited me to live here, and I respect this country, and I will not flaunt that situation by being disrespectful. I just can't do it. My family comes first, and my family are Indonesians. My children are Indonesians, go to Indonesian school. This is their future. This is their country. This is my home. So I have to marry up the two and stay on the right side of everything. That's kind of why I'm not getting deeper into it. And I know people are probably commenting and stuff, and I can't see that side of my screen right now. I've got the forward-facing camera here. I'm upstairs in our house in my studio where I do painting. Just felt like the right place to be today for this little talk. So here we go with the monkeys. From what I know, and I've reached out to a couple of organizations that help me to monitor the conservation efforts of the long-tailed macaques. The long-tailed macaques in North Jakarta are fine. I will not be able to get to them and visit them and see for myself for another couple of weeks. It's killing me because before the unrest happened, that week actually was my normal observation time. And the day that protests really kicked off, um, we started to see the situation deteriorate, and I decided for my own safety not to go there, which is probably good because they actually ended up closing off the toll roads that would have been my access to go to and from North Jakarta. I live in a different part of Jakarta. So when I reached out to people, they said, as far as they know, from the forestry offices and the people on the ground that live in that area of North Jakarta, the mangrove monkeys, True Bravo, are fine. Nothing really happened too close to them. There was a police station that was burned down in North Jakarta, but it was about 2 or 3 kilometers away from where the monkeys live, and the monkeys don't range that far, so they're really safe, I'm sure. I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to check on them. On the other side, I have no way to get information from the animal markets. I don't have contacts that are in the animal markets. I live very close to an animal market in a place called Jatinegara. And Jatinegara was a hot spot during the worst days of the civil unrest so far, with many cars burned down, like 20 cars, police station burned down, bus station burned, tear gas being fired, firecrackers, explosives, rubber bullets, the whole 9 yards. And that actually happened very close to where the animal market is, but that doesn't mean the monkeys were affected by it. I don't know. The monkeys are not kept outside at night, and most of this happen at nighttime. They're kept in the neighborhood next to where the animal market is. Yeah, there's a side street. I've actually seen some of the holding places for the baby monkeys. And so my next step, if the situation doesn't deteriorate further, which there's a deadline coming up on the 5th of September for the government to address the demands that were made in the protests. These are big demands. These are government changing demands. If they're not fully addressed, the situation will continue. If the situation continues and there are more acts of violence and destruction, if the police use brutal tactics or anything like that, if the people become more upset by the situation, I won't be able to get to the animal market either, because obviously my safety comes first. I hate that. I would like to see, because when you go to the animal market, what you're looking at, you just walk down the street, and in the cages, each cage is holding about 5 or 6 baby monkeys. We're not talking about full-grown adults. We're talking about baby monkeys. These were monkeys that were snatched from their parents. They're orphaned. They're frightened already. So if they are being subjected to loud noises from gunshots, firecrackers, if they're being subjected to chemicals like from the tear gas wafting through the air, if they're being subjected to sights of people yelling and screaming, fires, it's traumatic. It's definitely traumatic. I mean, these are not low cognition animals. These are high cognition animals, and they're aware, emotionally and intellectually aware. So my first trip that I can make as soon as it's safe enough will be to the animal market to see how that's doing, to see the babies firsthand. And at that market, particularly in Jatinegara, there are anywhere from 50 to 200 baby monkeys at any given time in those cages. So it's a lot. And then on top of that, hopefully, in a couple of weeks, I may be able to get back to Troop Bravo and assess them for myself, and I'll take video and I'll update everybody as it unfolds. So that's kind of the situation. Indonesia is in a lot of difficulty at the moment. People ask me about my personal safety. Well, at home, I don't feel a level of danger. I don't feel a level of fear. My wife lived through a horrible history in 1998, May of 1998, with mass riots and looting and people that were killed by the hundreds. And it changed the entire system of government. For 27 years, Indonesia has been a democratic republic because of what happened in May of 1998. So this was systemic change that took place. And she survived a lot of things during that time. And yeah, we're hoping it doesn't get to that level. We're hoping that the current administration, the current government, doesn't turn a blind eye to the demands that are being put out there. The demands to me, and this is not political, but just in a general sense, this is about inequality, perceived decadence and corruption by political officials, unfair wages, things like that. These are things, human rights issues, and they're very basic, and they definitely deserve their voice to be heard. So, we're hoping for a good result on that. And that's the update. I can't tell you too much more because I don't know too much more. I know that the Troop Bravo in North Jakarta is, as far as anybody knows, they're fine. The animal market is an unknown, it's a big question mark right now. I'm hoping that the sellers, if for no other reason than to protect their product, I hope the sellers took those animals further away from that hot spot. We'll see, and I will update as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me, and everybody stay safe and stay nature aware.